Top Talks. This is July 16th. We got a great show for you guys. We've got a lot of great speakers today. We have Katie Weiser here today. We have Ben Young as well. We have our guest speaker, Rita Mitchens, that's going to be speaking here today. As an icebreaker today, what I want to do is trivia. We got some things to give away for you too, guys. Let's go ahead. Let's see what we got for the trivia. Oh, that's not the first question. There's a little quote, though. Trivia is right here. Yeah. Yeah. Next on that. What we got? Who was the first man to walk on the moon? All right, Katie. Katie, I want you to help me pick out the first person that raised their hand.
Ooh, I think right here.
Right here? Neil Armstrong is right. Good job, good job. Could you throw her a shirt?
Wow, a shirt.
Sweet.
Green makes me look tan.
All right. We got another one. And again, what today is a trivia first. So what you're going to see up here is the first time a man ever did anything. All right? Or a woman. Anyone. All right. I am close to the door. I can get out before you get me. Really. I like that quote there too. That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind. That's awesome. And I'm big on quotes too. It says what? I believe every human has a finite number of heartbeats. I don't intend to waste any of them. That's awesome, right? What's the next one? Let's keep it moving. The first man to break the 4-minute mile. Any hands? Lewis. No.
Carl Lewis?
Not Carl Lewis. Not Carl Lewis. Dave Brinson. Not Jim. You guys are getting close though. In the back. This man right here wins. Roger Madison. Hold up. How fast was he? How was it? What time was it? Do you remember?
3:54:59.
Hey, you got the right numbers in there. You got the right numbers in there. But it is 3:59.4. You have the numbers though. That's good. That's good. Give that man a shirt. Give that man a shirt. Check it out. He's running on dirt too. My heart's about to beat out of my chest if I do it in 6 minutes.
Wow.
We got next. Uh-oh. Baseball. Baseball trivia. Which Major League Baseball team was the first to win the World Series? Here we go.
Boston Red Sox.
Guess what?
Yankees.
That's what they're called today.
Oh.
They were the Boston Americans. Good job, good job, good job. That's good. I'm going to also give you a lunch card. How about that? Awesome. Well, the next one right here, you actually get 2 lunch cards if you get this one. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. So, the question is, who was the first? I saw one raise their hand already too, so I'm going to go to them first in the back. Who was the first African American elected president of the United States? We kind of got an idea who that is, right? And what year was he elected? Tanika. Ding, 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 ding. Good job, good job. Tanika wins that. That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you, guys. That was our trivia today. Bingo. November 5th, 2008. That's awesome. We're going to go ahead and get started here. We only have so much time here today. So, I want to first introduce Katie Weiser. I met Katie a couple months ago at the Sherman local chapter meeting. Very nice lady, very smart, intelligent. I'm going to read her bio to you guys. Katie is the owner of Katie Weiser Coaching, located in Augusta, Georgia. She is a career coach and mentor who works with professionals who are at a crossroad in their career and also conducts leadership workshops for corporations and universities. She has over 30 years experience at Deloitte Consulting, working with CEOs, business leaders, and human resource professionals. So that's right, guys. Two of her leadership positions included Global Chief Learning Officer and also Global Alumni Director. Really good, impressive. Katie brings a wealth of knowledge from a global corporate experience about leadership, learning and development, managing people and teams effectively, and change leadership to her coaching. Katie is also a board certified coach. She graduated from the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching and has a BA in psychology from Hunter College of the City of University of New York. And she spent most of her career in New York and then Atlanta and lives in Martinez. Could you please give her a warm round of applause?
I think we don't need this one because I'm wired, right? Well, it's a great pleasure to be here today. I appreciate Teddy inviting me. And I can tell, I mean, there's an energy in this room. I see people throughout the floors smiling and hugging each other. It's like, what a great culture. I'm glad I'm here too and to be a part of it. So let me tell you a little bit about my background. So Marcos, if we could go to the next slide. I worked at Deloitte for a very, very long time. Downtown and then in the World Trade Center. And I was supposed to be there that day. I had a meeting, and about 4 o'clock the day before, my boss called me from London. He said, well, guess what? The London contingent is not going to be able to make it, so let's cancel the meeting. Well, Lord knows where I would have been that day had the meeting taken place. And because we lived in Connecticut, we always stayed in town. So we'd stay at the Marriott, which was connected to the World Trade Center. My husband would have been in that hotel. No telling where he would have been in that Trade Center complex. So it was for us, I mean, obviously very, very tragic. Deloitte did lose one person in the World Trade Center. And I get emotional just talking about it. But that made us kind of reevaluate our life. We were living in Connecticut. We'd been New Yorkers for, all of our lives. And my husband had family here in Augusta, Georgia. So they had 2 young boys who we just absolutely adored. They were like our own children. And so we said, Katie, my husband was an attorney, so he could actually move to Georgia. So I called my boss in London and I said, hey, if I move to Augusta, Georgia, on my own dime, would that be okay with the firm? And he says, well, with your long-standing, you can do anything you want because most of the time you're on a conference call or you're on an airplane. So go for it. So we did. So we've been here 14 years and we absolutely love it. So that's the story of why I'm here. The other thing is, as I said, I was with Deloitte for a very long time. A great company, ADP was a client of ours. And, I mean, it is one of the best companies on the planet. Although I did notice on the plaques downstairs that ADP is one of the best companies to work for.
Oh, yeah.
So that means it's all about the people. I did 2 things at Deloitte that were mentioned. One was the Chief Learning Officer of Deloitte Consulting, and then the Global Alumni Director. Those 2 jobs, those 2 leadership positions, really helped me transition into my current career, which is being a career coach and leadership workshop leader, as well as being a mentor coach to people. One was the learning job, because I love doing talks like this. I love putting together training programs, and I did that and traveled all over the world. I've been to 42 countries because of Deloitte, so I feel very, very blessed to have been able to do that. And the other was, in 2000, the CEO came to me and he said, Katie, we're going to fire 1,000 people and we want you to be their coach, typical consulting style. I don't know anything about coaching, but you're going to give me this job. Well, in the consulting profession, you figure it out very fast. So I was able to put together a transition program. Helped a lot of people manage their anger and their frustration. You know, why me? Why not her? She's not as good as I am, right? But then to get them back on track. And of course, they all wanted to go to other consulting firms, but all the consulting firms were firing at that time because it was a recession. So we really had to figure out what their passion, their strengths, their interests were, and move them into another kind of role. And then I worked with recruiters to help them get jobs. So I was able to combine what I call an encore career, which is combine the training component as well as the coaching. So that's a little bit about me. So let's get started. Let's go to the next slide. All right, I'm going to read some information to you. This is from Blessing & White. They're a consulting company that focuses on leadership and employee engagement. I saw a lot of employee engagement here today, so I'm happy to see that. They have a recent research study, and I want to read this so I don't mess it up. Their study shows that even though a large majority of managers like to coach, employees say they would like to receive more coaching. But their research also confirms that managers feel ill-equipped to coach. Many managers mistakenly believe that coaching conversations should only focus narrowly on work tasks or the organization's needs. They discuss project timelines, but they never ask the employee how they feel. How do they feel about the work? What obstacles are they facing? And what kind of coaching would help them most? Now, since every employee is motivated by a unique set of personal values, talents, and goals, leaders really must strive for quality in their relationships. And that means that leaders need to establish unique coaching partnerships with each member of their team. So as a manager of people, you really need to be a great coach. It's one of the most important leadership competencies that you can possess. And you know what? It's transferable company to company. Not that anybody would leave ADP here, but it is a transferable skill. So, who in this room wants to become a better coach? I should see every hand. Okay, great. Well, let's go ahead and get started. So next slide, Marcos. Thank you. I get asked this question all the time. What's the difference between coaching and feedback? And so they're both focused on maximizing the performance and enhancing career development, but coaching is an intentional conversation where the coach listens to, they question, and they acknowledge the perspective of the coachee to facilitate some self-reliant problem solving and action. Feedback is something we do a lot of. It's about something the person did that you want to provide advice on. Now, they're both similar because they will hold the person accountable for the actions that they said that they're going to do. And oftentimes, SMART goals, everybody knows what SMART goals are, right? That might be something that is done too. So that's the difference. Next slide. So let's look at the heart of coaching. It's really a conversation between the coach and the coachee. It's positive, it's non-judgmental, it's structure aimed at creating an action plan for a desired outcome. And the whole belief around coaching is that the individual has the answer. Sometimes they have to dig really, really deep for that answer. And so that's where the coach comes in. The coach actually has to kind of drag it out of you. But that's because they're asking you powerful questions. One of my favorite things is when I ask a client a question and they answer, I don't know. Yes, you do know. but we've got to dig deeper. We've got to continue to peel that onion. It is a collaborative process, so just keep that in mind. And so let's go to the next slide. This is my coaching model. There are many coaching models out there, but I tried to make it simple. It's the 3 C's of coaching conversations. It's connecting, curiosity, and confirm. And we're going to take some time, and we're going to put you in the hot seat today too, because we're going to cover some of this stuff and have you practice it a little bit. Okay, next slide. Now, I'll be the first to admit coaching is not an easy thing to do. I mean, we have to suspend judgment. That's really tough, really tough. And we have to avoid or telling or giving advice. That is not coaching. That could be mentoring. That could be providing feedback, but it's not coaching. And you have to disassociate yourself from the outcome. Also, another thing that's not easy to do. That's why I don't coach family members, because I have a vested interest in the outcome. And coaching takes time. It takes time. And we really have to retrain ourselves, because you know what? And I know each and every one of you, you are so used to problem solving. And you're used to giving advice. Somebody comes to you and they ask you a question, and you give them the answer right away, right? Because you're trying to solve problems. That's what we do in life. But we have to retrain ourselves. I do believe that everyone can learn the basic coaching skills. And like I said, we're going to have you practice a little bit today. Next slide. All right, let's talk about connecting. What do you think we mean when it says provide a conducive environment? Anyone know?
Uninterrupted.
Uninterrupted, love that. Anything else? Yes, way in the back.
It's a place where people feel comfortable and they're not easily distracted, so that they don't have anything else vying for their attention.
Comfortable place where they don't feel distracted. That's very important for the coach. How many of you have been in a session, of course not at ADP, but at other places, where you're talking with your boss or a colleague, and you know they're flipping through their emails, or you know they answer the phone while you're there? How does it feel? Doesn't feel very good, does it? Okay, a conducive environment. The next thing is being in the moment. So what do we mean by that, being in the moment?
Free of distraction.
Free of distractions,
Focus on the task.
focused on the task, focused on the individual. Absolutely. It's very, very important. And you know yourself, having been in a situation when someone else is in the moment with you, the two of you are like in the zone, right? And then the next thing is focusing on their agenda. If you're focused on your agenda, that's feedback. If you're focused totally on their agenda, simple thing. What do you want to talk about today? What's important to you? What's bugging you? It's their agenda, and then let them talk. Okay, so this piece of the equation, the connection, really starts building your know, like, and trust with the other person. And being non-judgmental is really a key to getting that connection with the person. It's very difficult to be non-judgmental because we all come from different experiences, etc. But give it a shot. Okay, next slide. This is the second C, which is curiosity, which we're going to have a little fun with today. So let's take a look at each of the skills. So you've got actively listening, acknowledge and validate, ask empowering questions, and challenge the obstacles. So we're going to look at each one of these. So curiosity to me is really the hallmark of a great coach. And the skill that defines great coaching is listening. All right, so let's go to the next slide. All right, this is time for participation. All right, so I want you to decide, you're going to turn to the person next to you, so you may have to move some chairs or move over, so we have two people together. So you two, you might have to move over. So find a partner, okay? Find a partner.
Slow.
Okay, everybody have a partner? Yes, everybody? We don't have any orphans? Okay, good. All right, I want you very quickly to decide which one's going to be number one and which one's going to be number two. Okay? That shouldn't take a long time.
2 minutes.
Okay, here's what I want you to do. The number ones and the number twos, you can be thinking about this, but this isn't going to be your role just right now. The number ones, I want you to think about a book, a movie, something in the news that raised your emotions, positive or negative. And I want you to talk to number two about that. And I'm only going to give you 2 minutes, so it's not a long time to talk. 2 minutes. Number twos, listen up. You are not allowed to say anything. You must totally focus and listen to the person. You can nod. You can't do anything. You could smile. You could use eye contact. But you are not allowed to talk. So think about what you're going to say, and then we're going to reverse. Okay? All right. Think about what you're going to talk about. Just 2 minutes. Ready, set, you're the listener, and let's talk about it. Go.
I went and saw the movie Inside Out. It was really good. They had a lot of talk about emotion. So they had anger and joy. Fear. It was a really good movie. It brought me back to my childhood. That's a country you're in. You loved it.
I haven't watched this. My kids aren't here, so I guess I'll watch it when I get back.
It's a good movie. Margot Lee in it. It was very good. One of the best Disney movies I've seen in a very long time.
Okay, stop. Okay, for those of you who were talking, when you talked, how did that feel to have someone to just totally listen to you? Nice. Good. Yeah. Okay. All right. So for those of you who were on the reverse end, where you couldn't say anything, how did that feel? It was hard. It was hard. It was very hard. Right. Okay, great. So the message there is, we are so used to thinking about what the next thing is that we're going to say. Coaching is about sitting back, being in the moment, and really, really listening. So I want you to practice that skill. All right, next slide. So here are the different levels of listening, and there are 3 of them. First one is subjective. So here's an employee. I'm working on a new project and spending a lot of time on it during the evenings. I'm just so exhausted. I'm sure we've all said that. So here's a coach who's just giving subjective listening. That's happened to me, and I figured out a way to manage my time better. How often do we hear that? It's not about them, it's about the other person. Okay, go ahead, let's go to the next one. But the subjective listening is kind of what we hear every day. And the coachee will not feel satisfied with that answer, trust me. Okay, level 2 is objective. So, same example. I'm working on a new project and spending a lot of time of it during the evenings. I'm so exhausted. So here's a level 2. It's objective. Sounds like you're committed to putting in the necessary extra hours to make this project work. Oh, got a little acknowledgement there. It's understandable that you're tired. So here you can see where the coach is focused on the other person. It's very, very effective, but it doesn't really get to the heart of the matter. Next slide. All right, here we go. This is the intuitive, and we all have intuition. So same thing, but this time they say, your work ethic is commendable, and I also hear a potential need to prioritize and manage your time in a more beneficial way. So the attention is not only on what the person said, but it's the tone of voice, it's the feeling, it's the the body language that you're seeing. So those are the 3 levels of listening. Next slide. All right, the next one we're going to take a look at is acknowledgement. So it's listening and acknowledgement. So it's paraphrasing. It's expressing more deep listening. It recognizes the strength that the individual has. So one of the most powerful parts of communicating we can offer another person is when we let them know that we really listen to what they said. And the way to do that is to mirror back what it is that they said. Now I can tell you, even with my own clients, if I didn't get it right, they're going to tell me. But that's great because that opens up a whole new dialogue. Okay? Next slide. Thank you. Validation. So it's really about listening, acknowledgement, and validation. Now we all have feelings, and sometimes we feel guilty about them. But you know what? It's okay to have feelings, and you want to make sure that your coachee feels that you think that it's okay for them to have their feelings. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're right or wrong, or that you agree with them. It simply means that you see their perspective. And that is very, very liberating. All right, we're going to do this exercise very quickly, and we're just going to do it with one person. So the same story you had before. So number 1 is you do your same story. Number 2, I want you to take a stab at doing this validation. So now you can actually listen and acknowledge and validate. And we've got some, go back. Just go back. Like here's some examples. It's only natural to feel that way. Or that's perfectly normal. It can be upsetting. So those are the kinds of things I want to be hearing. So go ahead. Number 1.
Right. Done. So I can say, I understand how excited you are to be back here. I'm now imagining.
You were able to practice that. I encourage you to do that. Let's go to the next one. Next one. And it's all about asking the empowering questions. And so let's move to the next slide. The other thing is to acknowledge what are the fears that they have? What are the assumptions that they're making or interpretations or limiting beliefs of I'm not good enough. Oh, I'll never get that promotion. I just don't have the skills, or I'm not good enough, that sort of thing. Next slide. And then the final C is to confirm. So you have to recap the dialogue, and if you're familiar with feedback models, this is definitely what you do. Recap the dialogue, and then agree on accountability, and then express confidence in the person. Obviously, they've had past successes, and so that's very, very important that they get reminded of that. All right, next slide. This is, I've given you a very high-level orientation to coaching, and there are the 3 C's: connect, curiosity, and confirm. And if you do these 3 steps, you will gain coaching credibility. Next slide. And it does have an impact on an organization. Take a look at these. You know, it helps inspire individuals towards positive outcome. For organizations, it really improves employee satisfaction and retention. Retention is very important. Can improve your team, company performance. And for leaders, it helps you really understand the goals. So coaching is a one-on-one sport, but I can tell you an entire organization can be transformed. Higher levels of engagement equal higher profitability. And it's a learnable skill. And I encourage you today to flex your coaching muscle. And I'm going to end with a great quote from Zig Ziglar. He was a great sales motivational speaker. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Thank you.